Hello there, friends. It's Miss Eliza, Children's Librarian at the Waukee Public Library. For this week's ocean-themed Maker Monday, we're going to be creating our very own glowing coral reefs. So this is a really fun craft project, and you just need a few simple supplies, most of which you probably have at home. So we're going to start with an egg carton, and I have a styrofoam one here that's been cut in half. Normally egg cartons have 12 little egg holes, a dozen, so it'll be about twice this long. You could use a whole egg carton, a half an egg carton, you could even cut it into strips of 3, however you want, whatever size you want your carton to be. I colored this one using permanent markers. If you've got styrofoam, then you're gonna need either permanent marker or paint that will stick to the foam. If you're using a cardboard egg carton, you could use crayons, colored pencils, markers, whatever you have on hand. And you don't have to color the bottom, you just might want to make it look kind of oceany. Okay, so then we're gonna fill our coral reef with a bunch of tropical reef-looking plants and animals. So we've got a variety of things here. We've got some cutouts of tropical fish you could use. We've got some tissue paper squares, and I can show you a couple things that we can do with these to craft coral. We've got some pipe cleaners, which might be useful, and a little cup of beads. But you can use whatever you have on hand. So I'll show you a couple things that might go pretty well in a coral reef, but you can also experiment with whatever you have at home. Then, to put it together, you're gonna want scissors, tape, and a glue stick, or one or the other of those. And then the important part, the glowing part, is something that you might not have at home. If you got a pack from the library, you certainly have one. And if you don't have the light, it's okay. But you can do this 2 ways. So for our preschool friends, we've got these sort of glowing candles, and you can turn them on, and there's a little LED in there just like that. So we've got these. And for our elementary Maker Monday friends, we are going to create a little mini circuit. So for that, you're going to need an LED light bulb, and you're going to need one of these CR2032 cell batteries. And to connect the two, you're going to want a little piece of electrical tape. All right, so to get started, I mentioned before, you might want to color your base, and that's your egg carton. So you could either color this, I kind of used oceany blue colors of permanent marker on mine. Some containers are already blue, which is great, and if not, coral reefs grow out of the floor of the ocean, so it's kind of a sandy color, so you might want to take that route too, whatever you like for the base of it. But once it's all set, you can put that to the side, and then we're going to try to make some coral-looking structures to fill it with. So we're going to start with our tissue paper. Now you might have some squares, and those are useful for a couple things too. I'm going to show you in a second. But if you have a longer piece of tissue paper, we can make a cool looking coral by folding it into a bunch of pieces. So I'm just folding up one long piece, so it's kind of on top of itself like that. And then maybe I'll fold it one more time in half, just to really get it there. And then we're gonna go along one of the folded edges and just cut a bunch of little slices, just like this. Kind of cut, 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 so that we're getting a couple inches in. They don't have to be exact, just all along the edge there. So we're making these kind of little flaps, fringes. And then we're gonna take the end that we didn't cut and kind of roll it on itself. And you see how it kind of flips out all of those little pieces that we cut? So it kind of looks like a little flower or a little coral reef. So if you want to, you can either wrap like a rubber band around this or secure it with a little piece of tape. There we go. So that's one option for making coral. And now that we've done that, we're gonna just pop it right in our little reef. Now I'll show you how you can make one of the glowing elements. So this is really cool. You can see if I turn the little light on and I put it just right in the reef, right underneath, it kind of makes it glow right underneath. And I'll turn the lights off later so you can really see. So it'll kind of make things glow, whatever you put under there. But this is also really cool if we put it inside of the tissue paper, because we're gonna get a little bit of a colored glow. So you can wrap tissue paper around the light, and you see now we've got kind of the yellow right in the center and a little bit of that green color too. So you can use that and just plop it right in your reef, and that's going to help the whole thing glow, and we'll keep building around this, but that's how you might want to do that. And you can do the very same thing with your own circuit. So to build the circuit, you're going to hold the battery up, and then the two little prongs on the light are going to go on either side of the battery. So you want to, oh, there we go. I got it right the first time. This is only going to light up one direction. So if you put the two prongs on and it doesn't light up your bulb, it's okay. Just take it off, flip it around, and try it again. Once you've got it so that it lights up, you'll secure it with a little piece of electrical tape, and that's going to keep that bulb glowing. Now, if you don't want your bulb to be glowing all the time in your coral reef, you can just remove the tape and break the circuit, and then when you want it to glow, you can put the tape back on. So we're going to just put this right across the back to hold that prong in place, and then right across the front to grab the other prong, and now we have this glowing. And you can also cover this up with a piece of tissue paper to get a little bit of a colored glow, just like we did with the tea light. We're basically making our own little safe tea light. So I'll put that right in our coral reef as well. We're looking pretty good. We've got two glowy bits and one cool looking coral. Let me show you a couple other things that you might do. So in nature, corals come in a whole bunch of different colors, patterns, sizes. They can be really incredible. So you can really explore and do whatever you want with this, but I'm going to show you a cool way to make one of the structured branching corals. So you'll start with a little piece of pipe cleaner, and if you have a whole pipe cleaner, you might want to cut it down to get a little bit, make it a little bit smaller. And then you're going to start at the corner of one of the pieces of tissue paper. So you're just going to kind of lay it diagonal going across the corner, and then wrap up the piece of tissue paper all around so that it completely covers that bit of pipe cleaner. And it's going to look kind of wrinkly, kind of crumbly, but that's kind of the texture that our corals are going to take in the water. So I've got kind of this longish piece of coral, and I'm just twisting it into that shape. There we go. It kind of looks like a branch, kind of like a coral. So you can just place this in your reef, and if you have styrofoam or cardboard, it's actually pretty easy to poke through. So if you want this to be in a really secure spot, you can find the end of that pipe cleaner and just poke it right through the styrofoam so that it stays in place. There's that one. Now that one didn't end up being super tall. Let's see if we can make one that's a little bit bigger. All right, now that I've wrapped this all up, let's see if we can connect our two pipe cleaners to make a really nice, cool branching coral shape. Nice. All right, we've got some height there in our reef. Now let's see if we can make one. I'm going to start with a piece of folded over paper, just like this, and a little tiny piece of coral, and I'm just going to roll it around the top so it's going to kind of shoot up like that, kind of like the first one, but we're not going to cut any slits in this one. We're just going to leave this kind of looking up like a flower. And then we've got sort of this nice long piece on the bottom, and I'm going to thread a few beads onto the end of that. So here's another one of our little beaded corals, and I'll stick that right in. And again, because these are on pipe cleaners, we'll be able to kind of move them and mold them however we like. I'll do a few more. All crumpled and wrapped around the pipe cleaners, they really do have that look of little corals. You can keep exploring and making as many different corally pieces as you'd like. When you're ready to add some animals, we're going to do that simply by taping or gluing one of our little fish onto the back of a pipe cleaner, and then we'll estimate how tall we want it to be. So this fish would be really tall in our reef. So I'm going to cut a little piece of the pipe cleaner off so that he's not quite so tall, and I'll stick him right through the foam. There we go, so that he stands up tall in our reef. What do you think? Should we give him a little coral reef friend? Let's do it. All right, and you can keep going as long as you want to, making all kinds of different colorful textures and patterns that can live in your reef. You can keep adding to this. You can move your little fish all around. And now I'm gonna turn off the lights so that you can see what happens to our reef in the dark. All right, my friends, are you ready to see what happens in the dark? Cool, so you can see we've got kind of a bright orange glowing one here where we've got it with the orange tissue paper, and then our green glow back here and our little happy fish living happily in their coral reef. So whichever method you choose, these can be a really fun thing to put in your bedroom as kind of a nightlight or just something bright and cheerful in your room. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.